Welcome in. You have found us once again. Shoot the Gap, the Rabbit Hole Fantasy Football Focus Show, here to help you to be gruntled with your fantasy football team and your fantasy football decisions. I am Brian the Amigo Baldwin. So glad you joined me on this little special occasion. Gonna go ahead and go over the basically the fantasy relevant trades, all right, that happened because trade deadline happened on Tuesday, and so some things are changed. Some things need to be looked at and recalculated. So that's the whole point of this episode. So hopefully you enjoy it. So let's go ahead and get started. Wide receivers, all right, wide receivers. Now, what I'm doing is I'm not really going from like the most relevant down. I'm just basically going to the ones that we haven't really discussed or haven't been discussed that much, and then working down to the ones that have been uber discussed since, trades have been happening for a while now. Anyway, let's start again, okay? Wide receivers. Jonathan Mingo going to the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, so the Dallas Cowboys, they sent a 2025 fourth round draft pick, and the Carolina Panthers, they send wide receiver Jonathan Mingo and a 2025 seventh round draft pick. Now, of course, Mingo, he's has struggled, to make an impact in the NFL, but the Cowboys are betting that hit the traits that made him a second round pick, that they'll work on their team, change the scenery type of thing. He was a standout in Ole Miss, average, but he only averaged less than a yard per route in each of his first two NFL seasons. What makes this interesting, though, is that, of course, I know if you're following the trades like I was, that before Sunday's game, Jerry Jones was saying, that, hey, we got something exciting coming. We're getting a wide receiver that we always wanted, and you're going to be surprised, and a splash is coming. And it's Mingo. So that has zero impact on fantasy. I don't think you would, especially with the news about Dak Prescott going down. All the pass catchers for Cowboys go down. So yeah, it's not good. This is just a non-fantasy football relevant story. One that is a relevant story, though, Mike Williams going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, the Steelers, they sent over a 2025 fifth round draft pick to the Jets, and the Jets sent him over Mike Williams, which this was writing was on the wall. We all knew this was happening whenever Davante Adams got signed. It looked a little bit like maybe it wasn't going to whenever Alan Lazard got put on IR. But that wasn't the case. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that I can go ahead and talk to you about percentages and all that stuff through Mike Williams' career, but let's talk about fantasy. What does this do fantasy? Well, first of all, on the Jets side, it now basically consolidates the route or the receiver tree to Garrett Wilson and to Davante Adams. Now, they're both of these guys. They are now basically every week starters. I watched an interview with Aaron Rodgers whenever he was actually, I'm sure you saw it, he was in mid interview whenever the news about Mike Williams came, and so he talked very plainly. Obviously, he looked a little bit not surprised, so I think he knew it was coming, but he mentioned that the quarterback Rodgers actually mentioned that more targets. He says that Garrett Wilson is a target hound, so he's going to get his targets. Davante Adams also the same. He's going to get his targets. And he went on to go and say some more politically correct stuff. Point is that those two guys are going to get targeted. So, yeah, and definitely in favorable matchup, especially with one coming up. Yeah, both those guys, those are rock solid plays. What does this do for the Steelers and for Mike Williams? Well, it makes Mike Williams now interesting. You got to wait for him to get acclimated to the defense or offense. Again, keep in mind it's an Arthur Smith offense, so we don't know what's going to happen. But still, he's going to get acclimated. He could be fantasy relevant. It's enough to pick up and put on your bench for a just to check to see, especially in deeper leagues, see what's going to happen, but nothing where you're real excited about. If anything, I think that it's a negative impact on George Pickens because now Pickens is not going to have that. He's going to be challenged in the end zone for targets, and that's what Mike Williams normally is: short yardage and end zone targets, and those are as we know, are big value targets in fantasy football. So I think it does lower George Pickens down a little bit. Yeah, so he's no longer. I think before he was wide receiver, like rated as a wide receiver two with the upsides. A Gus of wide receiver one. I think that this caps his ceiling. So he has a same floor, I think, but ceiling's probably not as happy, not as good. Dionte Johnson's going to the Baltimore Ravens. Well, we've already seen this. Are happening in fantasy already. Hopefully, you didn't play him in fantasy this past week. If you did, I'm sorry. It stinks when you get wrapped up in the hype. But yeah, it just looks like this unlocks Zay Flowers. That's what it looks like. So, fantasy impact, great for Zay Flowers. But Deontay Johnson, again, speculative ad. Hold him there, see what happens. Maybe when he gets more acclimated, he'll be more involved. You never know about Zay Flowers. He's a little wafy little dude, so he might not last the whole season. So just keep an eye on that. Of course, DeAndre Hopkins going to the Kansas City Chiefs. You already know what that is. The only thing I would say about Hopkins is that last week it was obvious that he was going to do well. All the writing was literally on the wall, so to speak, where Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid talked about how excited they were to have him and that he was going to get more targets. And of course, no Juju Smith Schuster. So it was all in a weak defense with Tampa Bay Buccaneers Monday night at home. It didn't matter if it was raining. You knew that Hopkins was going to be a good play. But now let's go and take a look now. We have the next game is against Denver at home. So that's a positive. But still, Denver's defense is a no joke. I was watching an interview with Garrett Wilson whenever he was asked who are the cornerbacks that he faced that were just difficult for him, that were the real deal, so to speak. First one was Patrick Surtain. Yeah, and you better bet he's going to be on. He's at least going to be somewhat in the vicinity of DeAndre Hopkins, especially after last week. So DeAndre Hopkins is a risky play, I believe, this week, but probably not. Probably going forward, he'll be fine. Just looking at everything that's going on. But if you want to play him, I mean, hey man, I feel you. Amari Cooper going to the Bills. We've already seen this play out. It's a roller coaster ride we've seen so far. We saw the up whenever he was healthy in the first week, yay! Down the second week when he was healthy, boo! Great for Keon Coleman, right? And then of course the last one, he was hurt, so we don't know. So there's nothing to say about treating him that way. Devontae Adams to the Jets, that's been way over talked about. Running back, let's go to Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert going to the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, this of course tells you that Zach Moss is done. I believe that the report was that he's done for the year, if not for this year into next year with a neck injury he sustained in practice. So that's huge. That means Zach Moss is out. Khalil Herbert now comes in as the backup. One thing I would think, and this is just we're looking at everything. I mean, the obvious is Chase Brown, to the moon. He's not going to have any competition. However, Khalil Herbert really is a great running back. He really is a really good running back, and so I could see him eating into Brown's work, and then in the event that if it turns out that Brown gets hurt, then of course this is the guy that's going to get all the work. So he's one of those really valuable handcuffs, kind of like Braylon Allen, or Tyler Algier. So just treat him like that. I think he'll be fine. But he's definitely, if you're a Chase Brown manager, you should be picking him up. All right. Cam Akers to the Minnesota Vikings. That one was the Vikings sent a 2026 sixth-round draft pick to the Texans. They send over Akers and also a 2026 seventh-round pick. So Akers was doing fine in Houston. Once the Joe Mixon came back and Damian Pierce was healthy, then of course this was expendable. So you see what's going on. Basically, Akers is an excellent handcuff, a la Khalil Herbert, but he's a great handcuff to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is not really the picture of health. As far as the impact on Texans, it's nothing fantasy wise. There was one offensive trade that happened that's going to upgrade things in fantasy land. That was not running back or wide receiver, and that's when tackle Cam Robinson Yeah, when he got traded from Jacksonville to the Minnesota Vikings, the Vikings sending a 2026 fifth round draft pick that could become a fourth round draft pick based on playing time to the Jags, and Jackson's over Cam Robinson and a conditional 2026 seventh round pick. This is huge because the Vikings lost Christian Darrisaw for the season, so they definitely needed a starting caliber offensive tackle, and that's exactly what Robinson is. That over the first 6 games of the season, he had a high grade as a pass blocker, and he was there with the Jags. Okay, so he's not doing anything there, right? Things didn't unfold like they hoped, in Jacksonville. So not a terrible return for Jacksonville. So this is going to upgrade, or it's going to reduce the worry that if you were a manager of any of the Vikings offensive weapons, that now they have at least a capable fill in for Christian Darrisaw's exit. Most exciting defensive ads that happened. We'll go ahead and talk about those really, really quick. I'm going to try to get this in within 5 minutes since I don't like these things to go too long. Cornerback Marshon Lattimore being traded from the Saints to the Commanders. Yeah, so what this says is that the Saints they're like, okay, we're rebuilding, man. We don't know what we're doing, or not that we don't know what we're doing. It's just that it's not going to happen this year. That came even complete with the firing of the head coach. So yeah, the Saints be very nervous about any offensive weapons that you might have. Sans Alvin Kamara, because he seems to be somebody that seems to be just taking off. He just is unstoppable. And Taysom Hill, you just can't kill that guy. Yeah, that is the real Voldemort there. He's going to eat into Kamara, but also will be a receiver. So those are probably the only two things you really care about on the Saints. As far as the Commanders, man, this really helps out that defense. They have something that's going to help them in the secondary, which they desperately need. Their up front was starting to click, so they really needed something in the back end in the secondary. Great move for the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are no longer, in my opinion, a walkover defense. Then, of course, Tre'Davious White going to the Baltimore Ravens, going from the Rams to the Ravens. This one's a little curious considering where the Ravens or where the Rams are. They are just right outside of first place, and they have a shot. They seem to believe because they didn't get rid of Cooper Kupp like everybody thought they were going to do, or they even mentioned that they were going to do. But with them sending out Tre'Davious White, they get back a 2026 seventh round draft pick. So I don't know, but it's the issue is that he's dealt with injuries uh, in the past. But of course, the reason why the Ravens have gone after him is because they too have dealt with injuries. And this right here, this one particular move is another one of those where I'm thinking that once he gets acclimated, the idea that it's easy to throw against the Ravens, that will change. All right, so once he comes in, gets set, I think it's going to be a really good thing for the Ravens and their chances to make to go deep in the playoffs. Uh, another two more to be mentioned, and then that'll be yeah, that I could see for as far as defense. And they're both edge rushers. Za'Darius Smith. Oh my lord, going from the Cleveland Browns to the Lions. Let's talk about that. Well, the Lions, they needed help. Once they, of course, about the season-ending injury that they received on their defense with Aiden Hutchinson. So now Za'Darius Smith comes in, and man, they are needing a pass rusher, and they got it. Fantastic job for them. I mean, they needed this guy off the edge. They're going to have this pressure. The offenses that they're going to be going against are going to more than likely be under pressure to pass because of their the Lions' explosive offense. Fantastic. The Browns, they get back a 2025 fifth round draft pick, 2026 sixth round draft pick. What this tells you also is that if you have the Cleveland defense right now and you're like, I want to hold them to the bye, don't. If you see somebody might have dropped San Francisco 49ers because they were on the bye, go grab them. If you see the Washington Commanders, go grab them. The Cleveland defense now is something that is not fantasy relevant, in my opinion. That's a white flag. So I would suggest moving away from the Cleveland defense in fantasy and moving towards the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions. And of course, about the edge going to Kansas City. John Ush, he's a capable pass rusher. And he's not necessarily an elite edge defender, but that Kansas City defense is something that is legitimate, and this just makes it even tougher. So that makes it even stronger. I would I would drop Kansas or Cleveland Browns defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, okay, that about does it. That does it for the the trade in a nutshell and how it handles against fantasy. So if you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know that you're out there and loving the show. Make sure and click the bell, because I'm telling you, this new format we're doing this year, everybody, I'm back. Okay, we're back. Okay, I know that we took a little bit of a hiatus. You might be wondering what happened. We're back. You're going to see us see me for the start sit advice for waiver wire. I was quite distracted yesterday, or I would have done a waiver wire show. So I apologize about that. I think we all were. But from going forward, we're going to have that. So please make sure click the bell, like it, showing you're enjoying the content, and that you're enjoying the shorter content instead of the big long hour. Okay, anyway, that's it. Okay, I'll be doing some more shows. I'm still going to do the DFS show. Then I'm also going to do the start sit show. So a lot of content coming your way. So make sure click that bell. All right. So with that, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. And remember, everyone, in fantasy football, as in life, don't dream it, be it. Thank you so much. Y'all see me soon.